Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Number 4 of our series of podcasts.
Numero cuatro for our Spanish viewers.
Okay, coming to the end of January now. So far we're trying to stay on topic every week, and this week's topic is very, very interesting because it's something I do quite a lot with my clients, and something we're all aware of, which is trying to deal with the energy drainers in our life, in terms of people or things.
Yeah.
The reason we're talking about this today is last week of January. Hopefully you're all trying to stay positive with all the things you're trying to keep in their diet, not drinking as much, etc., etc. So yes, that's today's topic.
So, how do we approach this when we are suffering from the blues? And we talked about how to defeat those over the last couple of episodes. Do you have any examples? Have we got any examples out there of situations where, and those watching I'm sure will have seen them, where you are just around people sometimes and they seem to sap the life out of you, bless them. Maybe lovely people, maybe our friends, maybe our family, but ultimately we know that they are draining us.
What do we call them? Mood hoovers?
Energy vampires?
Fun sponges?
Yeah, fun sponge.
But we have to really explain what energy is, and what we mean by energy in this context is just what we bring in terms of our energy to the day or to the week. And this, as we've said, examples of people, work scenarios. We all have our people at work. We have the divas, we have the sort of like drama queens, as people that may drain your energy. So the main question that we have in terms of that is some other examples that you could have. It don't necessarily have to be people, do they? You know, they could be your pets.
Could be
children.
Yeah.
What else could there be? There could be the problem with the remote control that never works.
It could be. Just little things that drain your energy that you don't really address in life, perhaps.
Or the gap in the sofa where the remote control goes down and you can't get it. Where has it gone?
Yeah.
Or you know, just generally anything where you get to the end of the day and you think, oh, that's caused me so much stress in terms of draining my energy.
Yeah. And it's the old thing, isn't it? People say about you can walk into a room and you can feel sometimes if there's a good energy or a bad energy, without getting too sort of spiritual about all of this. Practically, can we actually build our goals, something again we've talked about a lot the last few episodes, can we actually be explicit and prioritise being around certain people, being around positive people? How far should and can we take that? And is that okay?
Well, have you got any? What's draining your energy at the moment?
What's draining my energy? I think being busy, not taking enough time for myself can be a massive drainer, because we can drain ourselves. As you've said there. I think being around other people, I'm very lucky, but it's been a conscious decision over so many years that I surround myself with positive people who acknowledge the fact that we have our ups and downs. No one's perfect. But who consistently we understand it's give and take, don't we? Like us two. You know, sometimes we have a bad day, but that's different. In general, we try to be positive and we try to remind each other as friends and colleagues doing this project that, you know, there are some positive things going on, and should we expect that from our friends?
Well, we can try, because the thing is, what we're talking about today is not just about energy drainers, but we're also talking about energy givers. Because we need to find that balance.
Exactly.
We're going to have things in our life that drain us, or people, or things. But there's also, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, about the sort of scope to find or to search out people or situations that actually give us energy as well. I mean, one of the examples that you talk about is your running.
Yeah.
We see it all the time. People go to the gym, they get energy from the gym because there's a better atmosphere. I'm sure quite a lot of you have, you know, the weather is so grey and we're trying to stay positive. You know, those that are on this journey to try and reframe things and stay positive, it's very easy for a mood hoover to come in and just be on your case saying, the weather's shocking and I'm really struggling, and and it's you feel that it's getting sucked from you, this sort of energy level.
Yeah, it just seems, and these sometimes good people can get stuck in what seems to be a recurring pattern of just moaning. I mean, typically we could say that it's the older generations. I think that would be a bit unfair because we're generalising. But not exclusively, and people seem to get locked in this kind of frame of mind. So we talk about, is this about reframing and those around us perhaps are on that pattern or on that loop, helping them reframe, or is it simply about us looking after ourselves and maybe just minimising our contact, because it's ethically it's a hard one, isn't it? Because you don't want to deprioritise people, especially if you feel like they need help. But sometimes you've got to protect your own mental health.
Absolutely, because we have, we all have friends, and most of us do. I don't know whether you.
I don't have friends.
But generally speaking, we all have friends that may come to us from time to time, and we may go to them. There may be instances in our life where we're like, it would be nice to talk this through because I'm not really great at the moment, this has happened or that has happened. And we feel that we go to that person, we're drawn to that person as a friend because they might give us some energy. They might just sort of lift us a little bit. It could be, like for example, before we started today, we were both, and then we came in and we bounced our energy. We had a laugh. We put the world to rights for 10 minutes away from the camera, obviously, because we were talking about things that we can't.
Pumped up the energy level, didn't
we? Can't really speak about certain things on camera. But
I ate because I was grumpy.
The things that we did was we lifted at each other's energy.
No, we did seriously though. We did, and sometimes that 5 or 10 minutes, which is why we bounce off each other a bit, is different to some of the friends, family, people out there. You can guarantee people you see on a regular basis. Some people maybe you just wouldn't think. Let's put it this way: on one hand, if we were to say, right, who would you go to if you needed to ask somebody's advice? You'd say it might be so and so, so and so, and so and so. Which people do you generally give advice to? Or it might be so and so or support, and support. It might be so and so, so and so. Now there may be 3 totally different people on each hand, and you start to think, well, am I consistently giving to those 3 people? But these 3 people are maybe draining me. It's rarely as clear cut as that, but I would definitely say experience in life is that some people do really take a lot and not give a lot back, and it seems like that balance, like our seesaw in Rising Club, is really important when it comes to those around us in that respect.
Well, I remember my mum, God bless her, who once went to see somebody, a psychologist, and they said in life there are givers and takers in terms of energy wise and in terms of. Now, I'm not saying this happens every time because we're generalising, but if you are a confident, happy, positive person, and if you want to sort of have a little look at something, have a look at the pig of happiness, which is what happens is everybody gets drawn to that person. They mimic that sort of mood. So if you've got this positivity that you will not wane from, and you're that person that goes into the office around a bunch of negative mood hoovers, for example, then that will eventually shine through if you continue to be positive. I'm not saying every time, but I think it's all a frame of mind. It's a state of mind, and we go back to coaching, don't we? You go back to the inner dialogue, and we go back to, and we're going to talk about obviously how you can control things, because there are things in your life you can't step away from. You can't step away from your family. You can't draw what we call an imaginary line under them to say, right, I'm only going to spend 15 minutes on that phone with that person before I'm going to hang up. So it's really, what we're saying, what I'm trying to say is, you staying positive may have a good effect on others. Because if somebody comes to you saying, oh dear, don't you think it's so-and-so, and you turn around and say, well actually, have you ever thought about it this way? That might turn that person from a negative aspect into a positive. That might just make their day.
So there are many that, so we all have ups and downs, we all have good and bad days, we're not saying that, are we? We can influence each other through positive words, positive actions, helping each other reframe. Classically, as we talked about in when we've recorded the last couple of episodes, January, like our chat in the kitchen, as you've just said, we talk each other up. We know that sometimes though there are those that will consistently fail to respond to that, and sometimes you do obviously where you can, have to compartmentalise those relationships, or if it's business, frankly, you move away from that because I don't want to be around teams and individuals who are negative consistently, because we're not going to drive positive change with that. It's as simple as that.
No, and I think one of the things that we need to, when we ask the question, well, what do we do? Well, there's various ways of looking at this. You have friends. Yes, what do we do? Well, I don't know. From my perspective, and I'm just going from my perspective, maybe you agree, maybe you don't. Generally speaking, we know if we were to sit down at night and say, right, let's make a list of the things / people that actually make my life hard at work in terms of if I spend too much time with that person, then I will end up being drained of energy. Okay, and then we draw another column with let's look at the things or people that can give us energy. Like going to the gym gives people a lot of energy. Some go for a run, they go to a run club.
As you said with me, and we talk each other up. Me and the guys that I run with, we literally talk each other up when it gets hard and you're doing a longer run. You say positive words, it's intentional, and that's one of the things that I love about running in recent years has been running as a social activity, because you bounce off each other. Like coaching the kids at football, fantastic, because you bounce off each other and it's sort of positivity drives positivity.
Yes, you give yourself that energy.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully there's lots of people out there that are still going strong in January. We've spoke about the positivity and they're not letting these people in. We have to deal. I mean, look, for example, one of the biggest energy drainers that we have to deal with is social media and news. Especially in terms of the news that's out there these days. We are given catastrophizing news on a regular basis, which can drain our batteries. So if that's the case, what do we do about it? It's very simple. Turn it off. We don't listen to the news. Is it affecting us? And that's when we start to look at having this imaginary line. It's not a line where we say, right, that's it, I'm not speaking to them. It could be that we have no choice. It could be somebody who works in, for example, if those that work in an office, you could have another branch in Huddersfield where somebody over there, they want to speak to you, but it's one of those... And it's like, well, what do we do?
It's going to be 45 minutes.
This is a long one.
You see the call coming in.
Well, you've got a time in your mind. This is it. It's going to be, you've switched off after 10 minutes.
Yeah, because you're exhausted. We've probably all listened to a
little Johnny's sick, and it's been such a tough weekend. And really, it's about a work call, but it's like, well, where's the work?
Yeah, you become a sort of emotional punch bag if you're not careful in life, though.
Yeah, because people who are negative are drawn to the positives. So if you're a positive person, they'll be drawn to you. And it's like, he'll give me energy, or she'll give me energy. Let's pick up the phone, have a rant, have a moan about everything.
So we I was going to use the term positivity pie. We only have so much positivity pie to go around.
We're back to pies again.
We
have a pie theme. Pie level last week.
It's got to be about pies.
Explain the positivity pie then, Bob.
Well, the positivity pie, we only have so much in our pie, so much of the lovely, I'm not sure.
It's not a really good...
But,
I'm
we
only
have so much energy to go around.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I mentioned Tim Ferriss.
It's like a battery, isn't it?
It is, it's like a battery, yeah. We only have so much charge, that's perhaps a better analogy. And I remember reading, I mentioned Tim Ferriss a minute ago, one of his pieces, he was the author of the 4-Hour Workweek, amongst other books. So he's all about productivity. And he talked about going through your diary and literally saying negative, hasn't produced a positive conversation or outcome, quite brutal.
So on every single thing in his agenda?
Yeah, I think that was it. He on a rolling basis practically prioritised things that gave him energy, in our words.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that feels a bit taking it to the extreme, but perhaps there's nothing wrong with spending a little bit more time with those who are more balanced in their approach to giving and taking. Is that what we're saying here?
Well, it depends. There will be people out there that might listen to this and might go home tonight and think, right, I don't have anything positive around me.
Yeah.
I'm just being drained of energy by every single thing that I do and have around me. And that's quite easily could be the case, because you don't realise that this is happening. So then we start to look at the thing, well, how do we identify this? And like I said, one of the things is, this is where your inner dialogue needs to come in. This is where your self-talk is like, I'm so tired. Why am I tired? Am I poorly? Am I sleeping enough? Yeah, I'm doing all that. So what is it that's making me drained?
Yeah.
What is it? Is there certain people? Is there certain things? And then we go back to like the remote not being right, or things, the lights flashing in your living room.
Yeah.
And it's about the procrastination side of things that we'll talk about in future episodes, but about getting those things changed, making the changes, drawing that imaginary line and saying, look, that guy from the office or that woman from the office, if she rings up, I'm going to clock off after 15 minutes. I'm giving it 15 minutes.
Time box it.
Yeah, I'm giving
absolutely.
it 15 minutes.
Yeah. And then that's fair, that's professional, it's reasonable.
Yeah. Have you ever been to a party and said, just to let you know, I won't be staying? Because for me, I think that's a lot of people I've seen in the past have just gone in there and then disappeared. And that, for me, personally, is it not better to draw the boundary and make it more that you've said to that person, I'm here, but I'm not going to be staying? Is that an imaginary line? Could you say that is? Or is that rude?
Well, so you touched on something here. It's a bit like people ghosting people, which is one of our topics in terms of some of the digital stuff we talked about. It's one of our, it's an anathema to us, it's one of our pet hates, but to anyone the stress that causes. And it's really, as you've alluded to there, fear of people just being honest with each other. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, I
can only stop an hour.
I can only stay, or setting some boundaries. It's how we do that that's important. It needs to be done sensitively.
Yeah, of course.
If somebody's having a really hard time, or as we talked about a minute ago, they find it really hard as a person to understand how to give something back. It doesn't mean because it might be circumstantial in their life. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person, and it also doesn't mean that you don't want to help them and or have contact with them still regularly. Obviously, I'm talking about non-optional. Family is obviously different. But even with family, as your children get older and with your partner, there's still a give-take, because we can all slip into that needy type of mindset. So as you say there, does it start with us thinking, am I taking too much from others?
Or are you offering too much out? Are you offering? Do you need to step back? This is. I don't have any sort of data for this, but it's quite. In people that I've spoke to in my 50 years on the planet, there's been quite a few times where I've heard of there's people that I've known that are actually quite negative people in terms of the fact that they struggle to stay positive, but they're really happy to listen to other people's problem because it distracts from what they've got going on. So in a way, could that potentially be that they're getting energy in a paradoxical way from somebody else who's negative? Is it giving them energy because they're not having to deal with their problems, or is that a different subject that we're going on to now? Or is it just another scenario of energy givers and energy drainers that we're trying to sort of look at?
Yeah, I think it's another scenario. So maybe the thread that's running across all of this is two things. One, it's about balance with ourselves and with those around us in terms of,
because we're going to be drained. We can't just take everybody else's energy. We need to give it sometimes.
Exactly. If you're a teacher as well with a classroom full of children, if you're not drained at the end of the session, one might say, well, have you really given it your all? Some of the things we do professionally and non-professionally are very draining, but it's how much of that we save back for ourselves, and also, are we being fair with those around us? Are we being balanced with those around us? So I guess that starts with us. It goes back to, have you framed this? Do you understand where you are in terms of your circumstances and your behaviour with others, with yourself? Are you reframing things that you're not thinking negatively? And as you said there, putting some practical boundaries in place is fine, as long as you do that in a sensitive and appropriate way. Often those around us, when we think about those drainers, a lot of people, they're not having a good time of it.
No.
When I think of a few over the years, they're not bad people, but would I want to be with them all day, every day, with them in that frame of mind? No, it's exhausting.
And sometimes you do find that you don't have a choice. It could be a work thing.
Well,
one of them could be a boss who's literally in the office with you all day. How do you draw the line there? Sometimes maybe you can't draw the line. So what are the options then? Well, one of the options is is to make sure that you give yourself time and space to be able to reset. So, you know, you need to be able to get away and have your own time from time to time to say, right, I just need to sit down and reset from all of this, recharge the batteries. This is why we have holidays. This is why we have people, you get a chance to go away. So you're not in those work environments. You're not, it's a change of scenery, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And ultimately, if other people won't respect those boundaries, and I think particularly, well, that goes back to how we talked about core values before, principles. If they won't respect those boundaries and that continues, then there is a case to say, right, maybe I'm a bit misaligned here with my work, or it could be caring for a family member. Maybe I need some support with that family member, for example. You know, so there are various different scenarios there, as long as you approach it in the right way. You can't seek, nor do we seek to control others. If they, you know, if friends or family or colleagues or bosses won't respond to those boundaries, like I said, it raises some questions, because it's about protecting your own mental health, isn't it?
I think the main thing is that again, like we speak about with everything, and we do with everything we speak about in these podcasts and also in the book, is moving forward. And I know it's people will be out there saying, well, I can't escape it because, you know, I work from home and I've got my 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're not saying you can be able to change things overnight, but what you can do is you can look at everything and maybe look at moving forward in a very small way to lower the amount of energy that is draining from you. However that is, you know, if your kids are a drain, you know, will this be forever? Can you look down and think, well, actually, no, because next year they go to school, etc., if they're, you know, nursery. I know it's difficult with elderly parents. I've had to deal with it with my mother. She went through lots of problems, and obviously my dad is now getting older as well. And so we have to take on some kind of, we have to give them some energy, like for many years they gave us energy. And it's not that simple, but if we're aware of this going on, that's what we're looking for, right? We want to identify, for example, you might not need to identify, you might be full of beans, you might have subconsciously got your energy givers, you might know the gym is the thing, you might do all this and you can rebalance, you're balanced with what you give out. But there are people out there at this time, right now, at the end of January, who are trying their hard to stay positive. The weather's awful, it's dark, it's cold, we've still got February through, and they're then being presented with somebody in their face who's also dragging them down further. They're trying to stay above the line, above the water.
Well, fundamentally, if you do, you know, this is going back to the kind of ethos of your article, isn't it? If you do manage to get that balance, and you can more successfully reframe the way you think about your life and those around you, your model of the world, as we call it, everything starts from there for me. Because I used to be, you know, more hot-headed in my youth. I was more critical of those around you, and you just need to make peace with that. You know, no people aren't out to get you. People
it's
aren't
thoughts,
generally.
isn't it? It's thoughts.
It is thoughts, yeah. So if you can understand that, get that balance, and going back to the other point that you made there, is actually have some goals which allow you to use that positive mindset for good effect. Whether it's running, whether it's coaching, whether it's teaching, you know, not for money necessarily, whether it's even just giving people some advice or trying to help those around you. I find that then compounds and it grows, and people will come towards you, and you will find that balance in your life almost naturally over years. But it takes, going back to your light bulb example, it takes conscious positive effort towards those goals in life.
Gives you need to look at your energy levels.
Yes.
And this is what we're saying from all of this, is that there are times where you won't be able to control what somebody's like. Children, you know, you've got to go back and they are children, and they're going to be
and
there.
They are draining.
Yeah, they are draining. But what
every
do we do
day.
then? It's then every minute. But then what we look at it's down to then controlling your emotions. Absolutely. Your emotions and how you deal with what's coming at you. And it might be that you just have an imaginary line of patience, rather than just a line there saying, right, I'm not going to engage fully through all this because I won't be able to cope with this evening. So I'm going to take a little time out from time to time, even if it's just 5 minutes, to go make a cup of tea and be out of the room, or whatever, just a small, very small reset.
Exactly. Have left enough space, basically. Have we left enough gas in the tank or charge in the battery? Or another question I'd ask is, our kids come home from school, we're totally drained. We've exposed ourselves to somebody at work who's totally drained us.
You've exposed yourself?
Are we, well, that was never proven. But aside from the cold case, I'm kidding, you're drained. Are you on your best foot to go and deal with your kids? Surely if you're completely spent from work, and I've been there, you've been, we've all been there, is it actually something else that you need to address? Is it actually a family member or your children who are draining you? Or is it actually a symptom of you just haven't got enough energy to give out anymore, you're not prioritising?
Well, then you're not balanced. Then you go back to the balance of your work, and we go back to... there'll be podcasts on this in the future talking about balance with work and family, staying calm and thought processes and so on. But I think the main thing that we need to close up today with is, in terms of this drainers and givers, is yours balanced? Is your life balanced? Or are you drained? And if you're drained, are you addressing how to rebalance or move towards a better balance by having energy givers? An energy giver could be as simple as an hour to yourself, looking out the window, having a coffee, resetting. It doesn't have to be going for a run club, going to the gym, doing something. It might just be that you take yourself out for a walk for half an hour. That could be your energy giver.
So find that time and space. Secondly, set some boundaries. Thirdly, if people won't respect those boundaries, whether it's colleagues or whether it's family members, then actually it's maybe something more fundamental. It's maybe a symptom that you need to think about making some changes in your life.
And if there's things that are draining your energy and it's not a person, then it's usually something that can be dealt with, because it could be a remote control down the sofa. It could be something small that you've just put off again and again. Or it's like the fight with the brush. You could have just not put the brush right properly. I mean, read the book and you'll know all about the brush fight.
Brush fight.
Yeah.
Those little interactions with the brush built up, and John...
because I didn't sort it out.
To the brush
and it became an energy drainer because the brush kept hitting me in the head.
It did.
It did.
Violently on one occasion. Excellent. Well, thanks so much. That was an episode all about...
Energy drainers. Fun sponges. Mood hoovers. Energy vampires.
Energy vampires, that's the term. So like and subscribe. You can check out the website at realityclub.co.uk, and we look forward to catching you next time. Thanks for watching and listening.
Bye-bye.